David Goggins is a former U.S. officer who was a part of the Special Operations Force Navy SEALs. He also broke a world record by doing 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours and is a well-known ultramarathon runner. He's often called the toughest man in the world. In his book Can't Hurt Me, Goggins talks about how he developed his enormous toughness. And here's what I learned from his story. Lesson number 1, be honest with yourself. Goggins had a hard time as a child with an alcoholic father who abused him and the rest of the family. Goggins also stuttered and had learning difficulties in school. As an adult, he became heavily overweight and earned a low salary by spraying for cockroaches. Goggins eventually had enough and decided to do something about it. The first step was to be honest with himself and admit that he was heavily overweight, that his life was empty, and his job worthless. When Goggins became honest with himself and began to take responsibility for his own life, his transformation began. If Goggins would have continued to blame his problems on his father and his lack of talent, he would have never accomplished what he has achieved today. Lesson number 2, do things that are difficult. We often like to do things that are easy, the stuff we are good at, but it's by doing what is difficult that we can develop and become tougher. To become better at something, we must suffer. So accept suffering as a natural part of the process and a necessary step in achieving your goals. Realize that adversity is essential to growth. Before Goggins broke the world record for pull-ups, he had 2 unsuccessful attempts, and the lesson learned from these failures helped him succeed in the end. The toughness and strength you will develop will also be an advantage in all areas of life, because sooner or later we will all suffer from a tragedy, and the stronger and tougher you are, the better you will be able to deal with a tragedy. Lesson number 3, take small steps. Since Goggins was heavily overweight, he needed to lose 106 pounds within 3 months to apply for the Navy SEALs. He did so by starting small and focusing on making progress every day. He put post-it notes around his mirror where he wrote down his daily goals that he also accomplished. The sum of all the small steps Goggins took eventually became huge, and he lost 106 pounds within 3 months and met the weight requirements for Navy SEALs. Lesson number 4, the 40% rule. When you feel like you have given it your all and there is nothing more you can do, you have in fact only used 40% of your capacity and still have 60% left in the tank. That is so even though your brain tries to convince you that you have used 100% of your capability. That is the 40% rule. Goggins used the 40% rule during an ultramarathon race where he bled and was completely exhausted. But after a moment of rest, he started running at an even faster pace than before and finished the race within time. This shows you that you are much more capable than you think.